Hi there. So a while ago I made these snowflake cutters, and I was thinking that they would look really nice if if I used some translucent clay, and I wanted to try coloring them using colored clay rather than alcohol inks. Work really nicely because the translucent clay stays translucent, and if you add colored clay, it makes it less translucent. That's why most people use alcohol inks for these, but I wanted to control the colors a little more, so I decided to try some clay. But I started off using really what I thought was a really small amount of colored clay, like 10 parts translucent to 1 part colored clay, and it still was really not translucent at all. Still quite opaque. I was quite surprised at how opaque they were. So yes, sure, if you make them thinner, you can see that one's a little more opaque. This one was really surprising how dark it was, even at thinner amounts. So I thought I would do an experiment to see how much, because it made me think, oh, you can really stretch your colored clay by and I knew that you could, but I didn't really know how much. I thought I would do some experiments to figure out how much translucent clay you could add to maybe stretch if you only have a little bit of a color. So okay, so this is Sculpey Primo Alizarin Crimson, and I've got some Primo translucent here. It's just the regular translucent, just is what I have in my storage. And here I mixed up various different amounts of translucent and alizarin crimson. You can see the amounts here. The ones on the left is basically 50-50, going down to like the tiniest little amount of alizarin crimson. Just mixing them all up. It's interesting that they really kind of stay the same over baking. They really do don't change very much after baking. You'll see in a minute. I'm just cutting them all out. These are about 3 millimeters thick. And here they are after baking. So actually didn't really look, it maybe got darker because the translucent gets more translucent as it bakes, but you can see this 50-50, 50% translucent, 50% alizarin crimson is really quite similar to the original color. You could definitely even go to 3 parts translucent, 1 part color, and still have something that was quite close to your original. It's interesting that as it gets lighter, it gets a tiny bit more orange. That's probably because the translucent has a slight yellow tinge to it. I thought I'd just quickly show you how translucent they are. You can see that the darkest one is really not translucent at all, even though it's got a lot of translucent in it. And then as they get lighter and lighter, they get a little bit more translucent. And this is the lightest one, I think. So I realized that I needed to really make something with the regular clay regular colored clay as well as with the translucent. So this is the regular alizarin crimson. I don't know if you can see, it's really actually such a dark color, it almost looks black in some of the photos. So that's just the alizarin crimson. And then this one is 50 translucent, 50 of the alizarin crimson. And I don't think you could really, maybe a shade tiny bit lighter, but really not that much difference at all. So I think if you really wanted to stretch your clay, let's say I only had a little bit of this crimson left, then I could really use I could use 50% translucent, and you really wouldn't see any difference really with the clay. So anyway, this is a very dark color, like really strong. It will stain your hands. So maybe it'd be different with lighter colors, but I thought it was an interesting experiment with this particular color.